Shalom. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to White Roads Family Channel. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. And before I get started, let me say the messages on this channel, the words that you hear, are not necessarily the words of the owners, management, shareholders, or sponsors. With that said, let's get started. Yashar'al, or set apart Yashar'al. There are those who anticipate a final exodus, those who embrace and believe there will be a final exodus. And I am among those who believe such. I believe our 400 years captivity is coming to an end. And I am compelled to believe that on December 21st, in the year known as 2020, in the month known as December, the day the 21st of 2023, our final exodus will be magnified beyond belief, confirmed, and may even be complete. More than anything, I believe our final exodus will come to be in the latter part of the year 2023. With that said, I have committed to this series that I believe I'm compelled to present to discuss details regarding preparation and intermittent movement, regarding the coming together of the 144,000 in great multitude, as mentioned in Revelation 7th chapter, as mentioned, that will come together under the banner of Yashar'al, as mentioned throughout many scriptures. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, there are so many people that are envious of titles such as mores, pastors, bishops, and deacon. I will submit to you, my brothers and sisters, these things do not address the many details and processes necessary to complete the final exodus. But before I get into it even further, let me tell you, I once met a guy and we was having a discussion about doctors. And this individual said that keep in mind there are A doctors, B doctors, C doctors, and in some cases, maybe even D doctors. Talking about the grades. Doctors who may have just did what's necessary to finish school so that they can be a doctor, whether it be medical doctor or academic. Just as that holds true in our society today, in our world today, the same holds true with leaders. There are leaders, shepherds, pastors, community heads, who do not have the skill set to manage, to lead, to organize, to handle great numbers. Although they bask in them and boast in them, they neglect the very duties that are expected of them according to the scriptures. Even though they are saved, the book says, or the scripture says, or the Bible says. Unbeknownst to the need for the living spirit to make the scriptures alive, they go about with enticing words or entertaining ears to lure people into their groups, fellowships, camps, and communities. My brothers and sisters, there are wicked shepherds and there are righteous shepherds. I want to address this matter here regarding shepherd, man, husband, father, son. You see, my brothers and sisters, I believe there will be millions gathered for this final exodus. Millions. I believe that the 12 tribes that's identified in the 7th chapter of Revelation will be identified and confirmed, and upon fulfilling what is written regarding them, we will all find ourselves under one banner. That banner will be Yashar'al, a banner that represents one of our forefathers, whose name is commonly known as Jacob. And to those that are coming into the truth and away from the letter J, Yaakov, whose name was changed, again, most commonly as Israel, to Yisrael or Yashar'al. So Yashar'al is the name that Yaakov was given to fulfill many prophecies. My brothers and sisters, it's time to identify specific end-time responsibilities for structuring a set-apart nation for millions to come together. Come with me as I continue to talk about the subject of shepherd, man, husband, father, son. And as I get into this, I want you to know, please be advised, these messages are to the set-apart ones drawn by Yahuah to Yahushua Mashiach. If this does not fit your description, it's not intended to you. It's not designed for you. It's not going out to you. The set-apart ones drawn by Yahuah to Yahushua Mashiach. Regarding the shepherd, my brothers and sisters, do you know that a true shepherd of sheep will keep an eye on the weakest sheep, the youngest of the sheep, more so than the elders? Do you know that the shepherd of sheep will guard and protect and nurture and care for the youngest sheep as it matures? In other words, it serves the needs of the youngest sheep so it can grow into maturity. I submit to you, O Yashar'al, shepherds of Yashar'al, for these final days, must recognize the true shepherd is a servant, serving the weakest of the link to bring about into the fold for the strengthening of a set-apart awakening nation. The shepherd is the one who's sensitive to the needs of the weakest, the youngest. You have heard me talk about mostly children. I would venture to say that most of the shepherds, the leaders, the mores, the pastors of the communities, the deacons, the most influential that we see to this day, focus more on the leadership, quote unquote, than they do the weakest of their camp, community, or group. Rarely do you see them speak of the weakest, the youngest, or the need to care for them, nurture them, teach them. But I submit to you, O Yashar'al, in these final days, these shepherds, anointed by the Almighty Father Yahuah, will demonstrate the attributes of caring for the youngest, the weakest, serving the body. Come with me as I read something to attach regarding shepherds, akin to dealing with shepherd. John 21:15-17 reads, John 21st chapter, verse 15-17 reads, When therefore they had eaten breakfast, Yahushua said to Shimon, Kepha, Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me more than these? And he said to him, Yes, master, you know that I love you. He said to him, Feed my lambs. Going on to the 16th verse. He said to him again, second time, Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me? He said to him, Yes, master, you know that I love you. He said to him, Shepherd my sheep. Feed the lambs, shepherd my sheep. And he said to him a third time in the 17th verse, Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me? Kepha was sad because he said to him the third time, do you love me? And he said to him, Master, you know all. You know that I love you. Yahushua said to him, Feed my sheep. Let me continue. For the responsibilities of the shepherd is to feed the lambs, to feed the sheep, to service the weak, the growing, to also serve those that are being strengthened in maturity. Let me read this as well. In 1 Timothy And I see I need to make a correction, but that should be 1 Timothy 3:1, my brothers and sisters. 1 Timothy 3:1. Come with me as I read it, my brothers and sisters. Bear with me just 1 second. My brothers and sisters, patience is something that is rare these days. Even in me, I learn, I pray, and I seek to grow in patience. Shepherd. Now, I want to say something too before I continue. Let me say this, Yashar'al. I purposely titled this installment Shepherd, Man, Husband, Father, Son. And the reason why I did it singular, because it's important for you to look in the mirror. Or if you want to do a selfie, do a selfie. But look at a reflection of yourself. And you must decide if you are drawn by the Almighty Father to be a shepherd. Not everyone can be a shepherd. Not every man can be a shepherd. Man. Every man is a male, but may not necessarily exhibit or demonstrate bravery and courage to protect and guard. Every shepherd might have the anointing and wherewithal for giving guidance, but may not have the strength and fortitude to protect. But they can help organize, structure, give direction, care for the weak and the young by giving instructions and demonstrating how to identify the spirit of the voice of the Almighty Father. And every man that has strength and fortitude may not have the patience and the skill sets for being a shepherd. And every husband may not be a shepherd. Every husband would be a male, but not a shepherd. Every husband, well, they would be a shepherd of their own household. Let me qualify that. But they may not have the skill set for shepherding larger numbers. Every husband is not always a father. Not every man and woman that are betrothed or married, or whether they're married or not. And I'm not saying that they should indulge in fornication, but every husband cannot produce children. But a father is a man. A father can be a husband. But a father may not have the strength and fortitude to exhibit the bravery and courage to protect and guard things at a larger magnitude. But the father can instruct the son, direct the son on how to choose what the Spirit is saying to him, how to grow up to be a father, how to love the wife, the mother, how to prepare for manhood. Different men have different degrees of courage, strength, and fortitude, and different men have different skill sets for doing different tasks. And I want to say to you, Yashar'al, this is something that needs to be made known among the body of Yashar'al. There are different skill sets for different tasks. Are you tired of fellowships, camps, communities, groups that's just regurgitating scripture over and over to you? that's not sharing any life of how that scripture applies to your life today, it's time to examine your position. This message is to those who the shoe would fit as shepherd, man, husband, father, or son. You see, every part of the body is anointed with the degree of strength that is necessary for that individual to do their part. Let me read something as I was about to do regarding the shepherd. 1 Timothy 3:1-7 reads, "Trustworthy is the word. If a man longs for the position of an overseer, he desires a good work. An overseer then should be blameless, the husband of one wife, sober, sensible, orderly, kind to strangers, able to teach, not given to wine nor brawler, but gentle, not quarrelsome, no lover of silver, one who rules his own house well, having his children in subjection with all reverence. For if a man does not know how to rule his own house, how should he look after the assembly of the Almighty One? Not a new convert, lest he be puffed up with pride and fall into the judgment of the devil. He should even have a good witness from those who are outside, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil." Shepherd, my brothers and sisters. There are responsibilities of a shepherd. And you have A shepherds, B shepherds, C shepherds, if you were grading them. You have different shepherds over different types of individuals. Why am I speaking of these different types of shepherds? For as Yashar'al come together, you must begin to ask yourself, what type of shepherd are you following? Or if you are a shepherd, what are you doing? Are you serving the weakest of the link? Are you prepared when two shepherds come together? Are you prepared to relinquish that responsibility to the other, or is the other prepared to relinquish it? Have you discussed what it takes for one to subject themselves to the other? You see, O Yashar'al, in this final exodus, all will not be leading the flock. They may lead their group if drawn by the Almighty Father, if they are walking in obedience, and they may find themselves being shepherd of a thumb and don't have the skill set to shepherd a hand. Or they may find themselves shepherd of a hand, but don't have the skill set to shepherd the wrist, the elbow, the forearm. You see where I'm going with this, my brothers and sisters. Different shepherds shepherd, serve, and lead with different magnitudes of strength and different positions of purpose. It's so much to recognize, O Yashar'al. There's so much work to be done. It's time that shepherds begin to talk about the different skill sets and not compete with one another, but see how they intertwine and how they connect. When it's time to rise up in leadership or relinquish and yield to another. Regarding man, yes, my brothers and sisters, every man doesn't have the courage, nor the strength, nor the fortitude and endurance to guard and protect, to fight for Yashar'al with brute strength. And every man does not have the skill sets that another man may have for shepherding or for being a husband. There's a difference, O Yashar'al. We must begin to understand these differences to see how they connect. Because while the man that is fighting and guarding and protecting Yashar'al, where's the man figure? Where's the father in educating the son that's not ready to be out on the battlefront? Where's the husband that should be caring for the wife? You see, there will be balance Somebody would say, he don't know what he's talking about. Man should be all of that. Shepherd his household, be a man, be a husband and father, and he's the son of his father and mother. But I say to you, Yashar'al, as end times intensifies, we will recognize that there are specific needs that the shepherd has. There are specific needs that the man have. Are all shepherds a man? It should be. This is the will of the Almighty Father. But there are rarely exceptions. Ultimately, we will see the man as a shepherd. The man alone, just being a male, man alone with the strength and the courage. Each of these designations befalls the male. And one designation have more influence to one over the other. And different men may look at this here and say, I can be that father and I am that son to my father. Or I can be that father, I have a son, I also am a husband. But I am not called to the battlefront. This might sound redundant, Yashar'al, but it will make sense as we start together so one man doesn't think that he's more superior than the other. Come with me as I read the following regarding man. Matthew 23, 34 through 35 and 36 reads, because of this, see, I send you prophets and wise men, and scholars of scripture. Some of them you shall kill and impale, and some of them you shall flog in your congregations and persecute from city to city, so that on you should come all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of the righteous, Abel to the blood of Zachariah, son of Barazakah, whom you murdered between the dwelling places and the slaughter place. Truly I say to you, all this shall come upon this generation. He sent out wise men. So would you say whether a shepherd, a man, a husband, a father, or a son? Wisdom is necessary. When he said men, talking to the man, do you think a man should be wise? If you see one that believe they're wise, ask them, what do they think about the scripture that talks about the fear of Yahuah in Proverbs? What is that? Proverbs 1, bear with me as I look it up. One 7, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. If you see one fighting, kicking against the obedient ones, would you call that man wise? A wise man would be one who understands the dynamics of guarding and protecting what's set apart. It has the courage to repent and turn away and be washed in the blood of the Lamb, to continually be renewed so that they have the strength to walk in set apartness and correctness. Come with me, my brothers and sisters, as I read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 9 through 13. 1 Corinthians 13, 9 through 13. Are you a man? And if you are a woman, listen to this. Understand some expectations of the man, the husband, the father, the son, the shepherd. For we know in part, we prophesy in part. You see, every man won't have it all. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part shall be inactive. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I thought as a child. I reasoned as a child. But when I became a man, I did away with childish matters. I saw a camp playing with cars, toys, grown men, more so than their children, supporting them children. They were playing with toys. Whatever excuses they may want to give you, this is not wise. But let me continue. 12th verse. For now we see in the mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know as I also have been known. And now belief, expectation, and love remain. These three, but the greatest of these is love. Love, my brothers and sisters, do we know what love means? Do we honestly understand the love that the Almighty Father has for us? Are we aware that the Almighty Father have killed for us, O Yashar'al? Are we aware that the Almighty Father have moved mountains for us, dried rivers for us, filled rivers for us? Are we aware of all the love that he has done for us, O Yashar'al? Do we know how to truly love? I say that true love can only come from knowing Yahusha. For it is the love that the Father has for us and has demonstrated through his word manifest before us as Yahusha, his Spirit sent to teach and comfort us as in the name of Yahusha. This is what makes a successful husband, equipped with the ability to demonstrate Yahusha's relationship with us by how he demonstrated his love for his wife. And to the single man, believe it or not, a single man as a shepherd could be as the husband to the unwed. Now, I'm not talking about no homosexuality or any of that kind of stuff. Not at all. I'm saying as a husband, just as Yahusha is the husband to his bride, the leader can be as a husband in showing the love. Come with me, O Yashar'al. It requires sacrifices in being a husband. Even man and shepherds must make sacrifice. But a husband makes many sacrifices for his household, for his wife, for his children. And sacrifice is a good thing, but obedience is better. Never forget that obedience is better than sacrifice. Consider these words, O Yashar'al, for there are some who will put their children and their wife first, notwithstanding, not aware that it is Yahuah that gives them breath to live, as Deuteronomy 8:3 states. Man doesn't live by bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahuah. But there are some husbands that have put their wives and children first. I once spoke to a brother, and I asked him, do you love the Almighty Father Yahuah? Do you love Yahusha? What if he told you to leave your wife and children? Would you have the strength to do that? And after challenging this brother to saying if you truly love him, you would be willing to do that, we spoke much less following that challenge. And even though I told him it's Yahuah that gives your wife and children life, he could be telling you to go pave the way, and he will bring them later. You see, O Yashar'al, obedience is better than sacrifice. The husband. Bear with me, my brothers and sisters. Let me read the following. For your maker is your husband. Yahuah of hosts is his name, and the set apart one of Yashar'al is your redeemer. He is called the Almighty One of the earth. If Yahuah dwells in us, in the name of Yahusha, and work in us, do you not think some of us will exhibit behaviors of a husband? Understand the dynamics of a husband, knowing how to keep together a household, how to focus on providing for his family. Come with me, my brothers and sisters. 1 Corinthians 7:3-4 says, let the husband render to his wife what is her due, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. You see, there are some who would have you think differently. Bear with me for a second, my brothers and sisters. You might say, why am I talking about this in fragment like a person don't have a clue? You see, as end times ramp up, my brothers and sisters, there are people busy trying to obtain leadership positions, men especially, or who have obtained leadership positions. Some will call themselves shepherds, pastors, bishops, deacons, and priests. And they may have these titles, but do they know all the dynamics of what is expected with the titles that they echo for themselves? Let me read the following. Come with me to Ephesians 5th chapter, verse 22-29. The 5th chapter, Ephesians, verse 22-29 says, wives, subject yourselves to your own husband as to the master, because the husband is the head of the wife, as also the Messiah is the head of the assembly, and he is Savior of the body. Did not the Messiah make a great sacrifice for us to be in fellowship with the Almighty One? Did he not come for those who are drawn by the Almighty Father to him? Because the husband is the head of the wife, also Messiah. So we as husbands, if you are indeed wed, if you are unwed, husband as a leader over a group, do we treat those whom we are demonstrating husbandry to as Yahusha treats us? It says, but as the assembly is subject to Messiah, so also let the wives be to their own husbands in every respect. Husbands, love your wives, as Messiah also did love the assembly and gave himself for it. You see so many husbands out there trying to rule over their wives like this slavery, with no regards to their value, their importance, with no regards to serving them as well as leading them. Unbalanced, undiscerning. This will change in the coming days, O Yashar'al. It says, in order to set it apart and cleanse it with washing of water by the word, in order to present it to himself splendid assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any of this sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. In this way, husbands are to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but feeds and cherishes it, as also the master does the assembly. Have you been trained on how to be an effective husband? Or to accept the roles of the husband? Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, listen carefully, my brothers and sisters. For you have had a father. But did someone teach that father how to be a loving father, how to protect, how to instruct, how to guard his household? Maybe you had a father that was unlearned. Do not disregard him. pray for him, and demonstrate the love that Yahushua would have for him. And sometimes that love mean come away. Sometimes that love mean break away. But Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, in these end times, can we be fathers to the fatherless? Do we know how to be a father to the one that had been brought to us to educate, to nurture, to instruct, to maturity? See, these end times will come. The final exodus will be mostly children, but they will not be all, and it might not be your child. But can you be a father to a child that is not your quote-unquote blood child? Do you know what it is to be a father? To teach, to direct, to train, to develop the young ones into adulthood. This is necessary for the final exodus, for there are years, not many, ahead of us. There are more years that have passed behind us than ahead of us from a physiological perspective. For end times are here. That transformation time is not far away. Resurrection time is not that far away, O Yashar'al. Let me continue. Come with me as I read Proverbs 1:8 and 1:9. Proverbs 1:8 and 1:9 says, "My son, heed the discipline of your father, and do not forsake the Torah of your mother, for they are a fair wreath on your head and chains about your neck." Now, some might say, well, how can the discipline be chains about my neck? And I submit to you, if you pray and ask, Yahushua will probably reveal to you that a wreath on your head represents a crown of set apartness, and the chain about your neck represents discipline, keeping your body in check, working within the confines of set apartness, and not turning your head and moving your head beyond the boundaries of what is right. Yes, we'll stumble and fall. Thus the blood of the Lamb offers the opportunity to seek forgiveness in the Spirit of Yahuah to be renewed. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12 reads, "Respect your father and your mother, so that your days are prolonged upon the soil which Yahuwah, your Almighty One, is giving you." Your father and your mother. Respect. It didn't say be passive, be abused, take abuse. It said respect. Sometimes out of respect, we must seek deliverance from strongholds. And sometimes we must learn that our Father may know what is best for us. We can discover that through prayer, supplication, through study, through questions, through set apart leadership and counsel. In 1 John chapter 2, verse 13, come with me there. 1 John chapter 2, verse 13 says, "I write to you, fathers. I write to you, fathers, because you have known him from the beginning. I write to you, young men, because you have overcome the wicked one. I write to you, little children, because you have known the Father." Understand this, my brothers and sisters. From the baby boy to the elders of men, there are many things that can be taught. Are our leaders, our shepherds, serving up the information that is necessary for you to know which direction you should go, how to govern yourselves? Are there leaders serving up what is necessary to be a man? How to be a husband, how to be an effective father or son? And my brothers and sisters, I'm going to continue on even as that alarm continues to make noise. Let me continue. The Father, favor given by the Almighty Father to be a father. Come with me to Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. It says, "Respect your father and your mother, so that your days are prolonged until the soil which Yahuah, your Almighty One, is giving you. Upon the soil which Yahuah, your Almighty One, is giving you. And I read that. Do you know what it is to respect your father and your mother? Discipline, wisdom, knowledge. It's required. I want you to also come with me, my brothers and sisters, to Hebrews chapter 12, verse 7 through 11. For it reads, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 7 through 11. It says, if you endure discipline, the Almighty One is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom a father does not discipline? But if you are without discipline, of which all have become sharers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Moreover, we indeed had fathers of our flesh disciplining us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not rather be subject to the Father of spirits and live? For they indeed discipline us for a few days as seemed best to them. But he does it for our profit, so that we might share his apartness. And indeed, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but grievous. But afterwards it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Understand the training that our fathers must give to us. Yeah, there's some wicked ones out there, and deliverance will come. Strongholds will be broken one way or another. Let me continue. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, is your teacher, your moray, your pastor, your community head. Do they know who you are as a son? Do they recognize your strength and weaknesses? Do they contribute towards the relationship that you have with your father? And if you do not have a father that's around, are they providing the guidance that a father would give a son? Are you asking questions? Are you seeking nourishment? Are you hungry and thirsty for set-apart instruction and guidance? There are responsibilities of being a son. Don't look to excuses, say, well, my father's alcoholic, my father was never around, my father was... Maybe that was the case yesterday, or even now. It doesn't mean that you are excused from pursuing what a father should do, how to grow up and be a man and possibly be a father. Let me read the following, O Yashar'al, as I continue. Proverbs 1:8 to 1:10 reads, my son, heed the discipline of your father, and do not forsake the Torah of your mother. Torah means instruction, my brothers and sisters. People have you think the Torah is just the 5 books of Musa. Torah means instruction. You see, the mother gives the child instructions while the father is working the fields or out to battle to guard the encampment or building. And the child may not be of age to be in the midst of what the father is doing. The mother gives instructions. 9, for they are a fair wreath on your head and chains about your neck. I just spoke of this, and I just read it again. My son, if sinners entice you, do not give in. We must know how to vet, how to examine, how to identify the enticements, the seducing actions of the entertainers, those who would have you think that they are strong and set apartness and are not. We must know how to come away from them. We must know how to ignore them. We must learn how to keep them out of our midst. Proverbs 15:20 say, a wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish man despises his mother. Let me continue. Come with me to Proverbs 13:24 and 25. Proverbs 13:24 and 25 reads, he who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him seeks him with discipline. The righteous eats to the satisfying of his being, but the stomach of the wrong is lacking. See, the stomach of the wrong is lacking. That's talking about a greedy person, never filled up, always want to take, always want to grab. But you see, the righteous is satisfied. Even when it comes to disciplining a child, there are steps. You don't just keep beating and beating and saying, I'm going to beat it into him. That's not righteous or set apart. Discipline comes in many shapes and forms. But we must have balance and know how to effectively discipline the child. The goal is to educate and train the child, not to beat them into passivity, not to take away the possibility of courage and strength that awaits him in his growing years. Let me continue. My brothers and sisters, there's so much work to be done. You might say this shepherd, man, husband, father, son, don't make any sense. But pray. Let no one think more highly of himself than he is. And like I said, you could have a leader that's been pushed into leadership and will be removed shortly. You could have a leader that the time will come when a leader that can handle a larger crowd than that leader has been managing must take the reins. You see, as Yashar'al come together, there's going to be merging of groups of people, smaller groups to larger groups to larger groups, to ultimately we have the ultimate final exodus, the 144,000 in great multitude. Much work to be done, Yashar'al. And if you're a leader, your pastor, your shepherd, your community head, your deacon, your spiritual influencer, if they're not teaching you how to walk in obedience to the Spirit of Yahusha, if they just want you to just follow and watch them regurgitate scripture each week, each Shabbat or twice a week, if they just want you to just watch them perform and they hold a mic, a staff, a chauffeur, or whatever they want to hold, but they're not feeding you, teaching you how to walk in set apartness and the strength of the purpose that the Almighty Father is giving you breath to do, something is wrong. It's time to talk about the different tasks ahead. Come with me. Let's visit 1 Corinthians 12, 11 through 14. 1 Corinthians 12, 11 through 14. But one and the same Spirit works all these, distributing to each one individually as he intends. For as the body is one and has many members, but all members of that one body being many are one body, so also is the Messiah. For indeed, by one Spirit, we were all immersed into one body, whether Yehudim or Greeks, whether slaves or free, and we were all made to drink into one Spirit. For indeed, the body is not one member, but many. The work of the many for the one, O Yashar'al. The work of the many for the one. What say you? Do you understand these words? The men of set apart Yashar'al have much work to do to avoid approaching enslavement. You might say, well, wait a minute, what does this have to do with anything? A shepherd serves and leads his flock. A man guards and protects and provides much more. A husband nurtures the wife, the household, and builds up the family. The father instructs and demonstrates to the son and the children how households should be governed. And the son asks questions with the hunger and thirst to absorb the information and the wisdom necessary to prepare him to be a father, a husband, or a single man brave enough to with the courage and strength and fortitude to guard and protect as assigned by the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, I talk about approaching enslavement and famine, if we are not with wise shepherds, if they're not strong men, if the man is not responsible to guard and protect, if the husband don't understand what truly must be done to keep the household together, if the father don't know what it is to be focused and instruct and nurture into maturity those that he is in charge over, then it's easy for any one of these to fall weak and lead someone into slavery. You might say, still, what are you talking about? Come with me here, O Yashar'al. Consider how famine caused people to sell themselves. End times, in the 24th chapter, Matthew speaks of famine and disease, pestilence and disease, earthquake in diverse places. Are you aware that there was a time in Mitzrayim when the people was dying of hunger during great famine? And they were so desperate. They sold everything, and the only thing they had left was themselves. So they sold themselves into slavery. Come with me to the 47th chapter of Genesis, my brothers and sisters. The 47th chapter of Genesis. For it reads, 47, 19, and 20. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? This was a time of famine. It said, buy us in our land for bread, and let us in our lands be servants to Pharaoh. And give us seed, and let us live and not die, and let the land not lay waste. And Yosef bought the entire land of Mitzrayim for Pharaoh, because every man of the Mitzrayites sold his field, because the scarcity of food was severe upon them, and the land came to be Pharaoh's. You see, when one is dying of hunger and thirst, they are willing to sell themselves into slavery. It is important, as food becomes scarce, that we have shepherds that know how to ration, know how to organize, know how to structure, know how to give direction for the planting or the raising of livestock, how to fish, that the man know how to protect and guard, how to hunt, how to fish, how to hold together a set-apart nation, to protect the weaker vessels from predators. The husband knowing how to keep the love of the family together for their individual household and contribute towards keeping the love together by reflecting the attributes of Yahusha, who is the ultimate husband. The father knowing how to instruct, how to teach, how to train, how to transfer skill sets and expertise to the younger. Yashar'al, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And as we move closer to that final Exodus, there will be those who will be hungry and thirsty and want to identify what they are supposed to do and how do they hone and strengthen the skill sets that Yahusha has anointed them with to contribute towards that body. It's time to come away from just entertainment and playing church, so to speak. Consider 1 Samuel 15, 22 through 23, my brothers and sisters. 1 Samuel 15, 22 through 23 says, Then Shalum said, Does Yahuah delight in ascending offering and slaughterings as in obeying the voice of Yahuah? Look, to obey is better than slaughtering. To heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as the wickedness in the idolatry. Yashar'al, obedience is better than sacrifice. A person busy talking about what they did yesterday or yesteryear or what all they have is mute point if they're not doing something to contribute towards now and going forward that makes for the coming together of a set-apart nation as designed by the Almighty Father. Let us be mindful of end-time realities, duties, and actions that are before us, and let us press into them, O Yashar'al. Come, let us reflect on these words as I continue. Please be mindful, the things of which we say we believe requires work and actions. that must and will come out of obedience to the Almighty Father Yahuah, whose word came to us in Yahusha's name, physically and spiritually. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, the time is at hand to move beyond preparations and act. What are you doing right now? What will you do today? What are you willing to do tomorrow? How are you identifying what the Almighty Father is calling you to do? Those answers will come. They will stir within you until you produce the response that is ordered by the Almighty Father. It is important to discern the difference between good versus evil. Yashar'al. Hear this warning and take heed. Isaiah 5:20. Isaiah 5:20. For it reads as follows. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. You see, there's a lot of that going around. Within the body of Yashar'al, there are community heads, pastors, deacons, priests, bishops, mores, who are calling obedient actions from obedient ones of the Spirit of Yahuah, calling it evil because they can't discern the truth, because they can't get it. They're calling good evil, and they're calling evil good. One major thing that occurred is with Shabbat, from darkness to darkness versus from light to light. We are children of the light in so many ways, O Yashar'al. But there are so many who would rather embrace Shabbat, honoring the Shabbat now, from darkness to darkness. When we didn't have electricity, back in the day, O Yashar'al, we went to sleep at night. Except when there was a new moon, or full moon that lit up the sky to give us more daylight to harvest the crop. But there are so many mores, teachers, that would tell you the new moon is the sliver or the dark moon, or Shabbat is from darkness to darkness. Got it totally wrong. And this warning goes to them and other things that have been told that are correct, that they flipped the opposite. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. In these end times, a great correction will come, O Yashar'al, at such a magnitude. This correction will come with such magnitude that you will see individuals repenting, being renewed. You'll see a lot of individuals move because they're stubborn and set in their ways. Thus, the final exit being mostly children who are most impressionable to receive the set-apart instruction, and with the right guidance, mentorship, with the right guards, with the right father, with the right husband, with the right man, with the right shepherd, will be protected and grow and nurture. And there will be adults who will remember where they've fallen and be renewed. Some will have to go back to when they was first introduced to set-apartness to get things right and correct. Never forget, Yashar'al, unity requires connectivity. And if there's contradiction among us, compromises among us, there could be no unity. Connectivity is necessary. In all that is necessary, O Yashar'al, heed these words. Never forget the power of discernment, for we saw it demonstrated among us by Yahushua Mashiach. Come with me to Matthew 12:25. For discernment is when the Spirit of Yahusha reveals. And I could very say the Spirit of Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name to teach us, to guide us, to comfort us, as mentioned in John 14:26. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, what does it take for you to be hungry, for you to receive the living instructions from the Almighty Father? The example Yahusha gave to us. Matthew 12:25, and Yahusha knew their thoughts and said to them, every reign divided against itself is laid waste, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. You see, O Yashar'al, discernment. Yahusha knows all, sees all. And he tells us that if there's division, disrupt this division that's divided, where we're divided against ourselves, we cannot stand. Therefore, discipline must come. The responsibilities of each individual, each task, from the shepherd to the man, to the husband, to the father, to the son, to the woman, to the daughter, to the child. Never forget the Spirit of Yahuah reveals what he sees to us as necessary. Remember these words, O Yashar'al, as I gradually come to an end. Matthew 10th chapter, verse 34 to 36. Where Yahusha said, do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division. A man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies are those of his own household. You see, O Yashar'al, there's a wicked divide and there's set-apart division. And these must demonstrate to us what we must do. And we must be partakers of obedience of the Spirit of the Almighty Father to know the difference between the two. You heard me talk about be mindful of those thought to be weaker. So I read these words to you, O Yashar'al. 1 Corinthians 12:20 through 25. 1 Corinthians 12:20 through 25 reads, and now there are indeed many members but one body, and the eye is unable to say to the hand, I have no need of you. Or again, the head to the feet, I have no need of you. But much rather, those members of the body which are thought to be weaker are necessary. And to those of the body which we think to be less respected, these we present greater respect. And our unseemly members have greater seemliness, whereas our seemly members have no need. But the Almighty One blended together the body, having given greater respect to the member which lacks it, that there should be no division in the body, but that the members should have the same concern one for another. Again, there's a wicked divide and there's a set-apart division. We must know the difference, O Yashar'al. It's time to recognize these things as we step into our roles and duties that lie ahead regarding this final exodus, regarding our final days, regarding the emergence of a set-apart nation. There's much work to be done. What's your response, Yashar'al? Yes, you. This message reached you, and if you were ordered, if your spirit was stirred, if you was brought to the point of listening to this message from beginning to end, I salute your patience, your tolerance and endurance. I salute your hunger and your thirst for set-apart instruction. If I said anything that you can confirm to be set apart, that is confirmed to be true, may the Almighty Father Yahuah gets all credit and esteem. May Yahushua Mashiach be lifted up, and we witness him draw us together. As John 12:32, if he's lifted up, it is he who will draw all men to himself. And if we are focused on the Almighty Father, his word that came to us in the name of Yahusha, he will draw us together. And we will witness the final exodus begin to tighten up and emerge in mass numbers. And yes, it will be a remnant. When you compare it to the total world population, it will be a remnant. But the numbers will be a great multitude, as mentioned in Revelation 7:9 and 14. 7:14. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, unity will come. Prepare to witness all the proof that is necessary. For one day I ask you this question often. What will your words be? I wish that I would have, I should have, or I'm glad I did. Behold, O set apart awakening nation, there will be leadership. and structure as the 144,000 and great multitude begin to gather in mass numbers. There will be a remnant and a great multitude. Perception and focus is the key, as I stated. A remnant when you compare it to the population of the planet. A great multitude when the numbers are not so easily counted. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, know the value and purpose of a shepherd. Know the role of the man, the husband, the father, and the son. For we will discover balance if we begin to take shape, as we begin to find ourselves being structured to fulfill what is written. We will discover and witness and demonstrate our specific positions. Again, if you are under the leadership, whether it's a shepherd, pastor, deacon, bishop, moray, if they're not teaching you to prepare to embrace what Yahusha is calling you to do and how you fit in with this body, if they just want you to be entertained by them, something's wrong. And if you're spending more time with that group, that's time you could be growing in maturity. Whether it be your Arabia time to be alone and grow in prayer and strength and study, or whether it be a time to identify with someone that the Almighty Father is putting in place of that one you're following incorrectly and erroneously. Don't be afraid to come away. Don't be afraid to approach and discuss the matter. And if a moray, teacher, pastor, or community here trying to justify and defend their own egotistical behaviors, don't waste your time. Come away from them, O Yashar'al. Come away from them. And if there are ways for you to take the pastor to 2 or more, it's not saying 2 or more makes it majority rule. They must be obedient individuals that are able to identify what is wrong. Nevertheless, O Yashar'al, questions will be asked. Answers will come. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, here, O set apart family, there's much work to be done. Connections will be made as ordered by Abba Yahuah, by his Spirit sent in Yahusha's name. What say you, O Yashar'al? Let me pause so you can read the banner going across. What say you? Are you ready to be connected to those who are of obedience? Are you a part of the obedient group? Are you ready, O Yashar'al? Stay tuned. As I said, on many occasions, there's much work. There's much more. There's a lot ahead of us, O Yashar'al. Come and visit YahsWatchman.net. There's a contact page. Send your information and I'll respond. Let us connect and get beyond texts and emails and direct messages. Let us connect, O Yashar'al. If you believe there will be a final exit, if you believe you will take part in protecting, supporting the coming together of 144,000 great multitude, or that you will be a part of this rank, what's your position? What say you, O Yashar'al? If you like to contribute financially, there are many means you could do that. But if you want to contribute quickly or swiftly, I have a cash app, cash tag, White Robes Family. White Robes Family. Help me, O Yashar'al. Help me in preparing for the gathering of a set-apart nation. For I have said on many occasions that I believe it will be in the Western Hemisphere in the state of Virginia. Help me prepare for the arrival of many brothers and sisters coming from different parts of the Western Hemisphere to Virginia to depart heading to the promised land, heading to that central point, Jabal Allah, the true Mount Sinai, the true mountain of Yahuah. Help me, O Yashar'al, in contributing to what is necessary to add to the coming together as ordered by the Almighty Father. Seek to discern what is true and real, my brothers and sisters. On that note, I say thank you. My heart's desire is that we grow in discernment to fulfill the will of the Almighty Father in the name of Yahusha. I pray for your good health, your strength to endure in whatsoever state you're in, that you can endure, grow in wisdom and discernment, and know how to respond. In the name of Yahusha, I come to you. My name is Symmanayah, and I end with this word, Shalum.